back. So I just want to do a quick video. This is out of my usual. Um, I'm a little nervous, but I have to speak my truth. And the goal for making this video is to hopefully encourage somebody who's going through the same thing or feel as if they're alone. So, first of all, if you don't know me, if you're not close to me or in my inner circle, um, I did move back to the city for a number of reasons. I lived in Binghamton for a while and it was good, it was okay. But up until recently, or last year, I should say, I moved because the circumstances just was not conducive to my growth and my girls. So I had to pick up and go. So I moved. I moved because emotionally things were taking a turn. Mentally, I could have gotten to a place where mentally I would have just checked out. And as you guys know, I can't check out, like I have to keep going. As a mother, you have to keep going, you have to press forth, and you just got to do what you got to do. So if you don't know me or you just are tuning in, come in, share this word or message with somebody. So I did move, like I said earlier, I did move back to the city, and I do live in a shelter. And I was afraid to do this video for a number of reasons. I was afraid that I would be judged. I was afraid that, you know, my kids were going to go to school and people were going to know. And there was a lot of pride behind it. But, with a lot of encouragement from spiritual brothers and sisters and, from my pastor, it just, it's okay. It's okay to live in a shelter because you know why God told me? God said, you are not defined by your address. You are not defined by your circumstances or what you're going through. And every day I wake up and I rejoice. Some days I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm still here. When is this going to end? Because being in the shelter, if you are not mentally strong and you don't have a church to go to and you don't have supportive people in your life, you can slip into a place where now you are depressed. And that's just the reality of it. There were some days where I'm like, maybe this is the end for me. Maybe this is the last chapter of my life. But you have to overcome those thoughts. You have to overcome those emotions. And like I said, it's okay to live in a shelter. Your address doesn't define you. Where you live doesn't define you. And you just have to be encouraged. So I just want you guys to know that I'm not afraid to say it now. I'm not afraid of who might find out. I'm not afraid to tell people where I live anymore. I was, because I was prideful and I'm so used to living a certain lifestyle. I'm so used to, you know, being self-sufficient, being independent. And now when God puts you in a situation where you have to rely on Him and only Him, it gets real. And I just wanted you guys to know that because, one, there are women who are in the shelter who are afraid for people to know. And that's not okay. That's not the way to live. We shouldn't have to live looking over our shoulder. We shouldn't have to live in fear of our status, of where we are in life. And this is just a chapter in my life that God is right in this chapter for me. I will say that first and foremost. And the Bible says to rejoice in your tribulation, rejoice in your trials. And that's what I'm doing now. I just find joy in it. I find joy knowing that I'm going to wake up. God is going to wake me up in the morning and me and the girls are going to be okay. He's going to wake me up in the morning and there's still going to be food in the fridge and the freezer. He's going to wake me up in the morning and the car is still going to be intact. And it's those little things that sometimes when you're in the shelter you overlook. Sometimes I wake up, and I can just speak for myself. I have woke up in the morning and I'm like, oh my gosh. And my whole day is just me complaining. And up until recently, I realized it could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse, and it's not. And it's God's grace that it's not. It's his favor on your life that it's not. And I know that I'm going through this trial. I know that I'm going through this storm because there is greater to come. And that greatness that's coming, it's going to take me going through this trial. It's going to take patience. It's going to take endurance. It's going to take forbearance. When we pray for the fruits of the Spirit, we don't really realize what we're asking for. When we ask for that spirit of forbearance or that spirit of patience, he may give you a situation where you have no control and you have no choice but to be patient and wait on him for him to move. And last year I remember speaking with a, mortgage broker, if you will. And she told me, she's like, hey, listen, Sapphire, if you, come back to the county, and she was referring to where I came from, Binghamton. She said, if you come back to the county, and get, reinstate yourself to your government title, because I was working for the local government out there. So she's like, hey, listen, reinstate yourself to your title, work 6 months. If you work 6 months, I can give you this 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house that you want. And it was so tempting. It was so tempting because it's like, here I am in the shelter and I have control, my control. That's the plan that I wanted. I wanted that house. And I called my spiritual father, and I called on my pastor, on my leader, and I said, hey, listen, this is what's being laid out before me, and I'm tempted, and I'm ready to drive 3 hours back to the county and do what she said. And he said, you know what, daughter, that's not where you are supposed to be. That's not where you're going to give birth. And not birth in the natural, but birth spiritually. And it was hard to hear. It was very hard to hear, because here it is. I have the opportunity. I have the power to change my situation, to turn my circumstance around. But that's not what God wanted for me. And I do know for a fact that God doesn't bring you to a place. He doesn't bring you somewhere to leave you or forsake you. He didn't bring me to this shelter to leave me and forsake me, and for me to take matters into my own hands from now. And I had to live with it, and I had to stick through it, because sometimes when we want to get out and we don't, that's God. That's God telling us, stay in it. I have better for you. I have more for you. And that's just what it is. So I had to stay in my situation. I had to stay in the shelter. I had to. So that's just where I am. And I'm not going to lie. I wake up and the staff here, they're like terrible. The staff is so rude. The staff thinks that they're above you. The staff looks down upon you, and you have to walk with your head high. I go downstairs, and when it's time for me to sign in, because of course there's a curfew, you're not in control of your coming and going. You have to either sign in the morning or sign out during the day. You have to request weekend passes. Like, these are the things that people don't tell you when you're in a shelter. You are not in control of your coming and your going. And I don't say that to discourage. I say that to say, if this is your path, if this is where God is leading you, you need to mentally prepare yourself for the rules that you don't set for yourself. I will say me, I'm so used to being able to pick up and go, come in as late as I want, leave out as early as I want, and just have that little piece of freedom. Like, my liberty was mine. And when you are in a shelter, you have to live by certain rules. You have to live by, what they're telling you. And you are under the authority of disrespectful staff members, disrespectful security guards. But don't let that discourage you. Don't let them look down upon you or get you to abort your mission, because God is going to birth something in you. When you are in this process, this is something that God is building. God is building character in me. And at first I looked at it as a curse. I looked at it as if I was being punished. I was like, is this a result of a sin that I created 12 years ago? And no, not so. The enemy would want you to think that God is punishing you. The enemy would want you to think that God has left you and he doesn't care, but he does. God brought me here because he's going to use this shelter for his glory. He's going to use what is being birthed in me for his glory. I have a lot more patience than I did last year. I will say that honestly. Sometimes I wake up, like I said, I'm not perfect. Sometimes I wake up and I'm annoyed. But then there are days where God is like, your situation could be worse. There are days where I know, let me just open my Bible because I need words of encouragement. And another thing I just wanted to speak about, because so many people will tell you, hey, I'm here for you. Hey, I'm your ride or die. Hey, I'm your bestie. Hey, you my sis. But get into a good storm and you're going to see who's really for you. Get into a good fight with the enemy and the accuser and you're going to see who's really for you. All those friends, family members that say they got you, that say call me if you need anything. That word anything, it doesn't mean call them for anything. Please take that with a grain of salt, because I have literally, my circle is this small, that small, and it's always been that way. But when you are going through something and you try to tap into the support that you quote unquote do have, you begin to see who's really for you. The friend that said she had your back, that said, you know what, you're going to be all right, call me if you need anything, she's not going to be there. She or he is not going to be there. That family that's like, oh no, if you need anything, come to my house. They're not going to be there for you when the going gets tough. They're not going to be there for you when you need something. They're going to know, oh, she calling my phone. I already know what she want. I'm not answering. That's the attitude. That's the side of those relationships. This shelter will test your relationships. It will test friendships, family relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband relationships. It will test it. And if it cannot withstand the fire while you're in the shelter, if those relationships can't withstand the fire while you're in the shelter, then they don't need to be around you or be in your life when God blesses you, when God really exalts you. Because I had read something and it was so powerful in that moment. It said, be careful who you step on to get to the top. Because when you fall, you got to pass all those people. And that stood out to me for a number of reasons. One is because so many people will see you in your situation and overlook you. So many people will purposely ignore you. So many people will create fake argument and fake dramas just so they don't have to be around you. Some people will even say, oh, you know what? I don't have it. I'm going here. I can't do this for you. Take it with a grain of salt. Take it with a grain of salt, because relationships will be tested. When you are living in this shelter, relationships will be tested. And I'm even tested even with the government. Like, I'm not somebody who lives off of the system. Never have. Like, I'm not saying that I've never been on it. I've gotten food stamps. I've gotten cash assistance. I've gotten Medicaid. But I'm not one of those people who, you know what, that's going to be my everything. That's the end game for me. No, that's not the end game for me. So for me already being so dependent, it's tough. I will say it's tough to have to now rely on the system. And even still, I don't. I have private insurance. I don't need Medicaid. And I don't need cash assistance because I work. But when you're in the shelter and they're telling you, hey, if you want to get this voucher, you need to apply for public assistance. Whether or not you need it, you need to apply. And I think that's a part of this process that bothers me, because I've always been independent. I've already gotten rejected for public assistance like 3 times now. Why? Because I am over income. And they don't tell you that when you're going into the shelter. They don't tell you that, hey, listen, if you work, it's going to be harder for you. It's easier for the ones who depend on the system. It's easier for the parents who are lazy and like, give me the cash assistance. I don't want no job. Give me the food stamps. I need all of that. But when you're working, when you're independent, it's harder for you. The middle class, that little middle bracket between poverty and rich, that middle bracket, we get it the toughest. The ones that are working, the ones who are paying out of pocket for insurance and dental insurance and all what have you. It's harder. It's harder for us because we're not dependent on the government assistance. We're not dependent on public assistance to get by. We're working, but we're not completely rich either. So we get stepped on the most. And I feel like that. And I just have to encourage myself. I use God's word to encourage myself. When I'm feeling downcast, when my spirit is feeling down, and I feel like, you're having thoughts you're not supposed to be having, I turn to my Bible. When I'm having thoughts that I'm not supposed to be having, I call my pastor. I call my spiritual sister. I love her to death. I call her, hey, sis, listen, this is what I'm feeling. And I know you're going to tell me I'm overthinking, but this is what I'm feeling. And sure enough, no, sis, you're overthinking. That's not what God has for you. We need people like that in our lives. I will say, to whoever's going through this, to whoever is in the shelter, to whoever just got out of the shelter, really cleave to the people who have your back. Cleave to the ones who is there with you regardless. Cleave to the ones who, if you and that person have $1, y'all make sure, all right, we're going to put these $2 together and we're going to eat. Cleave to that person who's willing to, sis, you don't got it this month for your car insurance, I got you. We need to really cleave to those people. And you may not have many, and it's okay. You may not have many supportive people in your life, and it's okay. But the ones you do, hold on to them because they're loyal. And a loyal friend is hard to come by. I will say that. A loyal friend is very hard to come by. So, like I said, if you're in the shelter, if you are planning to go to the shelter and you just don't know, I will say mentally prepare yourself for what you are going to get into. Mentally prepare yourself for when your children say to you, I want to go home. Mentally prepare yourself for that because so many people have aborted their mission, have aborted and just left the assignment and went back to where they came from. Why? Because it's tough. It is not easy. It is hard living in a shelter. And like I said in the beginning, I was afraid to tell my truth. I was afraid to be open and vulnerable about it. And I'm like, you know what? I can't continue to live in fear. I can't continue to live in fear of people that may know me and what they're going to say about me and how they're going to talk about me. I don't care. I don't care. Say what you want to say because I know that my ladder is going to be greater. So much greater. Like, my book is not done. God is not done with me. Because if he was, I wouldn't be here now. I wouldn't be making this video. I wouldn't be trying to encourage, the next mother, the next family, the next sister, whoever. It's tough. Mentally prepare yourself for the journey. It's going to be a journey. You're not going to get an apartment overnight. You're not going to get a voucher overnight. You're not. I still don't have a voucher. I'm working and I'm busting my behind making sure that all my bills are paid. You're not going to get a voucher overnight, and it's okay. But stick with it. Stick with it. So many people go into the shelter, and when they realize how hard it is, when they realize what's really at stake and what's really required and how you don't have no freedom, guess what they do? They get back up and they go back to shacking with whoever. They go back to sleeping on whoever couch. And that person don't even want them there. That person is complaining about how much food their kids eat. And that person is complaining because you're in their space. So mentally prepare yourself. I'm not saying not to do it, but mentally prepare yourself for what you're getting yourself into because it's tough. Some days I wake up and I feel like I'm in jail. Honestly, I feel like I'm in jail. But you know what? I get up. I clean up because we have the power to change our environments. Like I said, the shelter does not define you. When you're feeling down and depressed, first of all, the first thing you should do is check, what kind of thoughts am I having? Once you get to the bottom of whatever thought you're having, ask yourself, is that a thought from God or is that a thought from my flesh? Once you figure that out, then you cast that thought down. The next thing you do, analyze your environment. Is it dirty? Is there stuff on the floor? Are there dishes in the sink? Is the tub dirty? Is the bathroom cleaned? Depending on what the answer to that is, if it's a yes, then you need to get into your book. You need to get into your scripture and motivate yourself. But if it's no, and you got dishes in that sink and the floor not dirty and you need to go to Dollar Tree and get a mop, go get that mop, go burn some candles and clean up. Because one thing I will say, we create our own environments. And sometimes we don't even really be depressed. Our environment is just dirty. Your space is just dirty. You're lingering in a dirty space. Get up and do that laundry. Stop playing. Get up and do that laundry. Get up and mop that floor. Tell the kids sit down. If they don't want to sit down, you cleaning up too. It's just that simple. Change your own environment. Don't let the shelter define you. Don't let people around you define you. And another thing I wanted to touch on, the people here, they ain't your friend. The girl next door, she not your friend. The girl across the hall, she not your friend. It don't matter how cordial y'all are in the hallway, in the elevator. They're not your friend. They're here to get their stuff just like you here to get your stuff. They're here to get their voucher just like you. They're here to get their apartment just like you. Don't be consumed with the environment and you forget why you're here. Don't forget why you're here. When people see me in the hallway, I don't even speak. And I don't say that to be rude, but I'm not getting comfortable. You're not my friend. We're not going to be neighbors at the end of this. At the end of this road, we're not going to be neighbors. I may never see you again. There's no point in building an emotional connection with other women here. You have to find that outside of here because misery loves company. And two people can't be in a miserable situation and think that they're going to uplift each other. No, all y'all going to do is sit and talk about how depressed y'all are, how much I don't want to be here, how much, the kids hate it, how much you hate the staff members, how much your caseworker is slack. You don't need that. I'm telling you now, you don't need that. Don't make friends in the shelter. They are not your friends. Everybody's here for one agenda and one agenda only. And that's to get their self-sufficient, get a job if they don't have one, and get an apartment. That's it. They're not your friends. They're not your family. Your support system is not going to come out of the shelter. Your support system is going to come from somebody who's not in the shelter. Somebody who's going to say, girl, no, I got you. No, that's not what you're supposed to be thinking. That's not how you're supposed to be feeling. Girl, get up and do that laundry. You need people that's going to tell you that you in error. If you don't have a friend that's bold enough to tell you when you wrong, when you overthinking, then that's not really a friend. Because one thing I will say about my spiritual sister, she'll tell me in a heartbeat, listen, sis, you overthinking. You not saying that right. No, that's a worldly thought. No, God didn't tell you not to be forgiven. That's what you want. That's your flesh. And you know what? It really takes me to say, you know what? You absolutely right. That is my flesh. I am being stubborn. I am being unforgiving. You need people in your life that's going to tell you when you are in error. If you don't have that, if you have that yes friend, watch out. Watch out for people who secretly joke about your situation and laugh. Watch out for those. Watch out for those get-togethers that you go to and they make a joke about your situation and not knowing that it's hurting you on the inside, but they're joking about it. Watch out for that friend because that's not really your friend. That's not really your friend. Watch out for those friends who, she ratchet and with a laugh to it. Watch out for that. Watch out for that friend who, this person don't care. You know how she is. Watch out for that. Those are not really your friends because 9 times out of 10, when you leave, when you walk away, when it's time for you to get on the bus or the train for that curfew or get in your car and drive home to make curfew, best believe they're going to be talking about you at the end of it. So the best thing that I could tell you, find somebody who's in your corner who's for you. If you don't know God, give your life to God. It's nothing to say, you know what, I get on my knees and I pray. We get on our knees for anything else, but we are so ashamed to say, you know what, I got on my knees and I prayed. Build a spiritual walk. Build yourself up spiritually in God's word, in the Bible. You don't even have to, if you're not comfortable with going into a church building, a Bible is $1.25 in Dollar Tree. There's no excuse not to have the word. Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. Sometimes I have to encourage myself. And that's just the reality of it. So if you are in the shelter and you have a family, you have your spouse, be encouraged. Lift one another up. Always remind yourself that your situation, your character, your life, this is not the end of it. And you're not defined by where you live. You're not defined by the shelter. You're not defined by the status of living in the shelter. You're not. Don't be ashamed of it. Don't be embarrassed. Say it with boldness. Because you know what? God is going to bring you out. God is going to exalt you in the faces of everybody. God says what's done in secret will be revealed before all men. We have to remember that. We have to remember that. We have to stand on that. What you pray to him in secret, guess what? He does it openly. And I can testify to that. I can testify to that. So be encouraged. And if you need an encouraging word, don't be afraid to reach out. I'm a very private person, and like I said, it took a lot for me to even come on here and reveal that. But you know what? I'm not ashamed. I do not live in fear of what people think or how they feel about my situation. I get up, I encourage myself, I encourage my children. Read some affirmations. If you have to do it yourself, you don't have that supportive friend or family member, read some affirmations. I'm blessed. I'm highly favored. God loves me. Say that to yourself. Look in the mirror and say that to yourself. And don't let yourself go. While you're in the shelter, don't let yourself go. If you have to braid your own hair, braid your own hair. Who cares? Braid your own hair. Put on your makeup. Go for a walk in the park. Take your kids to the beach. Sit on the beach and watch the waves. Sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes you just need a peace of mind. And when you are constantly around people, or you're searching for peace in a bottle of alcohol, or you're searching for peace in the next spliff or the next blunt, guess what? Those are just temporary fixes. Those are not going to bring you up, because after you're done smoking and drinking, you're still going to be in a shelter. You're still going to be depressed. Now, I'm not a smoker and I'm not a drinker because I don't want to put something in my body that God wouldn't have me to. But that's my personal walk. I don't judge you if you do smoke weed. If you smoke it, you smoke it. That's on you. But don't let that be your source of peace. Don't let that be your source of joy, because it's not. It's a temporary fix. So again, if you know somebody who's in the shelter, reach out to them. Reach out to them. Ask them, are they okay? Do you have toilet paper? Do you need dishwasher? You all right? Do you just need me to be on the phone with you? Do you want to go and walk the trail? Find a park with a trail and walk that trail. Do something. Can you want me to take you grocery shopping? I'll take you grocery shopping. Reach out to that person, because you don't know what this does to people mentally. This process can challenge you mentally. And if you're not strong, if you don't have faith, then it's even worse for you. Find somebody. And if you are in a shelter and you're afraid to tell somebody, now is your chance to say, you know what, I've been hiding and I do live in a shelter. I've been hiding this because I'm afraid that I'm being judged. It's okay to say that to people that are trustworthy, loyal people in your life. Do not be afraid, because God loves you. God loves you. And that's just the bottom line. So again, find joy in your situation, find peace, clean up, set your own environment, and just know that God is going to bring you out. And that's just the bottom line of it. So I love y'all, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.